Good day, ma'am. I am Jasper Jan L. Ingan from Section 3J. For today's video, I will be reporting the Article 1 of the Intercountry Adoption Act of 1995. Is the short title Intercountry Adoption Act of 1995. Section 3. The definition of terms as used in this act. The term intercountry adoption refers to the socio-legal process of adopting a Filipino child by a foreigner or a Filipino citizen permanently residing abroad where the petition is filed. The supervised trial custody is undertaken and the decree adoption is issued outside the Philippines. Like for example, ma'am, ang isang Amerikano ay gustong mag-adopt ng isang batang Pinoy upang ito ay mag-reside sa ibang bansa. Kailangan ng isang Amerikano ay dadaan sa mga proseso sa mga DSWD, ilakad ang mga papeles ng bata at dapat ito ay legal ang mga process upang makuha ng isang Amerikano ang isang batang Pinoy na gusto nilang i-adopt. Kasi kapag kinuha nila ng samantala ang bata ay hindi tama, and this is a social legal process of adopting a Filipino child by a foreigner. So dapat yung mga pag-process ng pag-adopt ng isang bata ay legal ang kanyang process. And next, child means a person below 15 years of age unless sooner emancipated by law. Dito naman, ma'am, it means yung mga below 15 ay pwede parang hindi pa masyadong mahigpit na kunin sa ibang bansa o yung mga adapin na mga bata napapunta sa ibang bansa. Pag kasi below 15 or 16, 17 or 18 o pataas na ay may tinatawag silang overage. Kaya mahirap na silang kunin or i-adapt o kunin nila sa ibang bansa. And letter C, department refers to the Department of Social Welfare and Development of the Republic of the Philippines. So, as I say a while ago, kailangan nilang pumunta sa DSWD para i-confront ang papeles ng isang bata upang sa ganun ay makuha nila sa ibang bansa. Kailangan nila i-process ang kanyang mga papeles tulad ng kanyang birth certificate o anuman. Letter D, Secretary refers to the Secretary of the Department of Social Welfare and to the Secretary of the Department of the Social Welfare and Development. Dito naman sinasabi dito na kapag ikaw ay nag-adopt, kailangan mong pumunta sa DSWD at magpaalam sa Secretary ng DSWD at kailangan ng signature upang ma-approve ang iyong adoption sa isang bata. And letter E, authorized and accredited agency refers to the state welfare agency or a licensed adoption agency in the country of the adopting parents which provide comprehensive social services and which is duly recognized by the department. Pag sinasabi dito na kapag ikaw ay nag-adopt, be sure na mabubuhay mo ang isang bata para aprobahan ng isang department, like for example the Department of Social Worker and Development. Sinusure nila kung ikaw ay may trabaho sa ibang bansa para may mapakain sa iyong aadapin, para sure ang isang bata ay hindi pagala-gala sa lansangan sa ibang bansa. And next, letter F, legally free child means a child who has been voluntary or involuntarily involuntarily committed to the department in accordance with the Child and Youth Welfare Code. Sinabi dito na kapag ang isang bata ay legally free, ito man ay voluntarily or involuntarily, kailangan i-process ang kanyang mga papeles upang to has been voluntary or voluntarily committed to the department in accordance. Kailangan ng isang mag-a-adapt ay i-confront ang bata na i-a-adapt nila. Kailangan nilang itong dinggin kung gusto ba nito o hindi. Letter G. Matching refers to the judicious pairing of the adoptive child and the applicants to promote a mutually satisfying child relationship. Matching refers to the judicious pairing of the adoptive child and the applicant to promote a mutually satisfying parent-child relationship. Like for example, ang isang Amerikano ay mag-a-adopt ng isang Pinoy na bata. Dapat ito ay minumutual ng Amerikano ang kanyang sarili sa i-a-adopt niyang batang Pinoy upang ang kanilang sarili para ma-match or masanay ng isang batang Pinoy na anong tawag dito? Tapno og damam diji bagida nga dua diji agadap nga Amerikano kun diji ma-adapt nga Pinoy iyas asidig na diji bagina diji Amerikano tapno maala na jerik na diji ubing nga i-adapt na tapno hanto nga may kawa into no ma-adapt na nga mapanda iji abroad. Next, H. Board refers to the Intercountry Adoption Board. Section 7, intercountry adoption as the last resort. The board shall ensure that all possibilities for adoption of the child under the family code have been exhausted and that intercountry adoption is the best interest of the child. Towards this end, the board shall set up the guideline to ensure the steps will be taken to place the child in the Philippines before the child is placed for intercountry adoption, provided, however, that the maximum number that may be allowed for foreign adoption shall not exceed 600 a year for the first 5 years. So, the mode of adaptation may be considered as the last resort after all possibilities for domestic adoption of the child have been exhausted. Sinasabi dito na it is allowed when the same is proven beneficial to the child's best interest, will serve and protect her child. That's all, ma'am. Thank you.
According to Republic Act 8043, Section 8, who may be adopted. Only a legally free child may be the subject of intercountry adoption. In order that, when we say child adoption, so ito yung pag-ampon ng bata. Pag-ampon ng bata ay hindi madali sapagkat maraming kailangang asikasuhin, maraming kailangang aprubahan, at higit sa lahat ay ang pangakong kanlungan para sa kanila. Sa pag-ampon ng bata ay hindi pwedeng kahit sinong bata lamang. Hindi porket wala ng mga magulang ay basta-basta na lang aampunin at kukunin. Dadaan ka pa sa proseso, maraming proseso. May mga pamantayan din at ahensya ng gobyernong kailangan mong asikasuhin at harapin. At higit sa lahat ay ang katapatan mo at kakayanang ibigay kanilang pangangailangan or pangunahing pangangailangan, pag-unawa at pagmamahal. The following documents must be submitted on the board. child study, the birth certificate, foundling certificate, deed of voluntary commitment, decree of abandonment, death certificate of parents of child, medical evaluation and history, psychological evaluation as necessary, and the recent photo ng bata. Section 9. Who may adopt? Any alien or a Filipino citizen permanently residing abroad may file an application for inter-country adoption of a Filipino child if he or she um, um, at least 27 years of age, six, or and six, and at least 16 years older than the child to be adopted. Kapag siya ay kasal and must jointly file for the adoption, she or he has the capacity to act and assume all rights and responsibilities of parental authority under his national laws. And has not hindi dapat siya convicted sa anumang krimen involving the moral turpitude and must be eligible to adopt under his or her national law. Who may adopt dito kasi kahit sino mang taga ibang bansa or Filipino citizen na permanenteng naninirahan sa ibang bansa maaring maghain ng aplikasyon para sa inter-country adoption ng isang bata or mga bata dito sa Pilipinas. Next, is in a position to provide. Siya ay nasa posisyong kaya niyang i-provide yung pangangailangan at suporta na kailangan ng isang bata. Moral values and to all his children, including the child to be adopted. Agrees to uphold the basic rights of the child as embodied under Philippine laws, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and to abide by the rules and regulations issued to implement the provisions of these acts. And galing sa ibang bansa with whom the Philippines has diplomatic relations and whose government maintains a similarity authorized and accredited agency and that adoption is allowed under yung adoption is allowed sa kanila. Possesses all the qualification and none the disqualification provided herein and in other applicable Philippine laws. Where to file application? Section 10. An application to adopt a Filipino child shall be filed either with the Philippine Regional Trial Court having jurisdiction over the child or with the board through an intermediate agency, whether governmental or an authorized and accredited agency in the country of the prospective adoptive parents, and yung aplikasyon ay dapat alinsunod sa mga iniaatas na itinakda sa mga ipapatupad na tuntunin at regulasyon na ilalabas. Yung application shall be supported by the following documents: written and officially translated in English, birth certificate of applicants, marriage contract if married, and divorce decree if applicable, written consent of their biological or adopted children above 10 years of age in the form of sworn statement. Physical, medical, and psychological evaluation by a duly licensed physician, psychologist, income, tax returns, or any documents showing the financial capability of applicants. police clearance of applicants, character reference from the local church minister, the applicant's employer, and a member of the intermediate community who have known the applicants for at least 5 years. Recent postcard size pictures of the applicants and his immediate family. The rules of court shall apply in case of adoption by judicial proceedings.
Section 11. Family selections or matching. No child shall be matched to a foreign adoptive family unless it is satisfactorily shown that the child cannot be adopted locally. The clearance, as issued by the board with a copy of the minutes of the meetings, shall become part of the records of the child to be adopted. When the board is ready to transmit the placement authority to the authorized and accredited intercountry adoption agency, and the travel documents of the child are ready, the adoptive parents or any of them shall personally fetch the child in the Philippines. So, kapag ang board ay binibigyan ng authority upang mag-ampon ng bata ang isang adopter or mag-aampon at handa na ang mga documents ng bata upang ampuni, ang adopter ay o mag-aampon ay dapat na personal na susunduin ang bata sa Pilipinas. Section 12. Pre-adoptive placement costs. The applicant shall bear the following costs incidental the placements of the child. C. The cost of bringing of the child from the Philippines to the residence of the applicants abroad, including the travel expenses within the Philippines and abroad, and the cost passport, visa, medical examinations, and psychological evaluation required, and other related expenses. So, kapag ang isang aplikante o mag-aampon ng bata ay gagastusin niya lahat ng mga gastusin ng bata katulad ng pagpapamedical, pagpasasaayos ng pasaporte ng bata, at iba pang gastusin. Section 13. Fees, charge, and assessment. Fees, charge, and assessment collected by the board in the exercises of its function shall be used solely to process applications for inter-country adoptions and to support the activities of the board. So, ang mga nakokolekta ng board ay gagamitin ito para sa pagproproseso ng documents ng mag-aampon sa bata at para suportahan din ang ibang aktibidad nito.
So in Article 4, Section 16, which is penalty, states that any person who shall knowingly participate in the conduct or carrying out of an illegal adoption and in violation of the provisions of this act shall be punished with a penalty of imprisonment ranging from 6 years and 1 day to 12 years and or a fine of not less than 50,000 pesos but not more than 200,000 pesos, and at the discretion of the court. For purposes of this act, an adoption is illegal if it is affected in any manner contrary to the provisions of this act or established state policies and its implementing rules and regulations, executive agreements, and in other laws pertaining to adoption. So in illegality may be presumed from the following acts. First is the consent
for an adoption was acquired through or attended by coercion, fraud, improper material inducement. So second is there is no authority from the board to affect adoption. So third is the procedures and the safeguards placed under the law for adoption were not complied with, and the child to be adopted is subjected to or exposed to danger, abuse, and exploitation. So or any person who shall violate established regulations relating to the confidentiality and integrity of records, documents, and communications of adoption application. Cases and process shall suffer the penalty of imprisonment ranging from 1 year and 1 day to 2 years, and or a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos but not more than 10,000 pesos at the discretion of the court. So, a penalty lower by 2 degrees that the prescribed for the consummated felony under this article shall be imprisoned or imposed upon the principals of the attempt to commit any of the acts herein enumerated. So, the acts punishable under this article when committed by a syndicate or where it involves 2 or more children shall be considered as an offense constituting child trafficking and shall merit the penalty of reclusion or reclusion perpetua. So, on the other hand, acts punishable under this article are deemed committed by a syndicate if carried out by a group of 3 or more persons conspiring or confederating with one another and carrying out any of the unlawful acts defined under this article. So penalties as the herein provided shall be in addition to any other penalties which may be imposed for the same acts punishable under the laws, ordinances, executive orders, and proclamations. So, in section 17, public officers as offenders. In section 17 states that any government official, employee, or functionary who shall be found guilty of violating any of the provision of this act, or who shall conspire with private individuals shall, in addition to the above prescribed penalties, be penalized in accordance with existing civil service laws, rules, and regulations, provided that upon the filing of a case or filing of a case, either administrative or criminal, said government official, employee, or functionary concerned shall automatically suffer suspension until the resolution of the case. That's all.